Hi, I'm Tiffany Johannes with RE/MAX Executive. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the proposed NAR lawsuit. I know we've seen a lot of explosive media articles and headlines out there over the last few weeks. We will have to, going late summer, to provide a consultation with the buyer just like we do on the listing side up front before we show homes. That's not a big deal. I think that is actually a win-win for everyone. Oftentimes you might think, hey, a realtor doesn't do much. We try to make sure that the transaction is as smooth as possible for you and you're not seeing all that legwork, that paddling we're doing under the water like ducks or swans swimming through, because we don't want you to have the hassle, the difficulties, and the nuances of a transaction. So think about that if you're a buyer. And on the selling side, you can choose to compensate the firm in any way you like. And the firm, up until now, has had a compensation agreement, and our listing agreements on both North Carolina and South Carolina say, hey, as a firm, I'm going to give you X dollars, which is negotiable, and of that money, I'm going to give X to the buyer's agent, which is a negotiable number. I don't think sellers will see a win-win scenario without looking at compensating buyers, but it's not required and it never has been. So if you're thinking about listing your home and you're wondering about the compensation side of it, talk to your realtor about the best strategy, because you want to make sure you get the most amount of money and you want to make sure that the buyer can buy your house. Now let's talk about a buyer buying your house. A buyer has a lot of their own costs, and I think that's traditionally why we have had compensation coming on the listing side to the firm, and then we're compensating the buyer's agent in the transaction. Oftentimes when a buyer is going to purchase a home, they've got to have a down payment. That could be 3%, 3.5%. It could be 5, 10, 20%, depending on the scenario. So that's a chunk of money there. Then if you're working with a lender, you've got another set of costs associated with getting your loan. And so that is typically 3 to 5% of the purchase price. So a lot of times buyers will not have the resources to pay the agent. And sometimes with particular loans, your lender will not allow you to pay your buyer's agent. Now, I think in our country, we realize buyer representation is important because that's protecting the consumer, and we would not want first-time home buyers or veterans or any other person who hasn't bought or sold a home recently to go through the process without fair representation that's going to help guide them through one of the biggest transactions in their life. Being a realtor, to me, is one of the most important things I could do out there. When I got into real estate, my focus was, how can I help people? How can I make a difference in their life? And I love a challenge and finding solutions to problems that come up. So this industry fit me well. When I look at why someone would not want to use a realtor, and I think about everything I do and my colleagues do in the process, I think they're going to be losing out a little bit when it comes to making sure they get the most out of their equity, making sure that the inspections and the things they need to be looking for in a home are fully considered and they're not taken advantage of by the listing side and the seller. If you don't know what to look for and you don't know what to look out for, that's the details and the piece that realtors are doing.